We finally got the first big battle in Vermeil and Gold, and it's been a while since I did a good fight analysis. So, let's have a look at how a sloppy duel between demons is this story's first real romantic step. Yep, in a show full of romantic plot, there's actually some good and meaningful action right here. Hi there everyone, Lars here from Camille's Harem, not just a podcast for novice writers by novice writers, but also a YouTube channel by novice writers for novice writers, because writing is an adventure, it's more fun with friends. And if you don't already know, action writing is honestly a real favorite of mine. I love looking at how stories utilize their action sequences to advance the plot, generate character progression, and even explore narrative themes. However, while others out there on the internet's wide expanses normally focus on the blow-by-blow details of any given fight, I think it's essential to also look at two other things. Why is this fight happening, and why does it matter? As a writer, if you cannot provide satisfactory answers for these two questions, it doesn't matter how awesome the action scene is. It will be lacking the heart and spirit that makes it truly memorable and rewarding to read or watch. So, bearing that in mind, let's have a look at why this battle between Vermeil and Professor Obsidian ultimately happens. Professor Obsidian has been trying to play around with demonic powers for a little while at this point. His express goal is to unlock a demon's true potential and harness it in such a way that a normal human can use it. To this end, he has been experimenting on cute girls who have come into him and forcing their magic to go berserk as he artificially forces their fullest potential to be drawn forth. He further experimented with Rex to see what would happen if this greater power was bestowed upon a weaker student and then set that student up against a member of the student council. Based on his experiments, the shady professor has made significant progress, and now he just needed a true demon to experiment on. It is unclear, however, how Obsidian figured out Vermeil's identity, though it does stand to good reason that a human familiar immediately struck him as odd, and because demons can disguise themselves as humans, there was a good chance that Vermeil was a demon. On top of that, his conversations with Alto about demons and if they can fall in love with humans, etc., would have further tipped Professor Obsidian off to the fact that Vermeil is a demon. All he needed to do then was to confront her and test his hypothesis. Now, that's basically the events of the story from Obsidian's point of view thus far, but we need to see the progress to this duel from Vermeil's perspective. Ever since getting released from the book in which she was sealed away, Vermeil has been slowly growing closer to Alto. Despite being a demon once called the greatest disaster, in more ways than one, Vermeil has slowly developed feelings for her human summoner. This progression is something done far better in the manga, at least in my opinion, but generally speaking, it's gone like this. Beta boy Alto is cute and endearing, which Vermeil likes because it makes him easy to tease. Then Alto shows her that he's not exactly a beta boy because he has a lot of power and high ambition to become the world's greatest sorcerer, which then becomes a good outlet for Vermeil's power. Alto also relies on her to overcome the obstacles that he faces, developing a good sense of teamwork between the two of them, which is always good in any relationship. Alto also shares small, simple, good things in life with Vermeil. Rather than use her like most weebs would do with a succubus, he spends quality time with her and introduces her to many things that make life just more enjoyable and sweet. In return, she honestly begins developing legitimate feelings for Alto. This means that when she senses Professor Obsidian messing around with demonic powers, she goes and confronts him directly. Now, we have to remember that Vermeil is a demon, which the anime really stresses, so it's really hard for us to forget. And as such, she is selfish and dangerous. A poor combination for Obsidian to deal with. She exposes his work and tells him that she honestly doesn't care what he's after so long as his work does not endanger Alto. Professor Obsidian, like the creepy perv he is, jumps Vermeil from behind and initiates his newest experiment, injecting concentrated demonic power into Vermeil to forcibly draw out her full potential. And that is where the fight finally begins. Once Vermeil has the dark energies pumped into her, she rapidly transforms far beyond a mere succubus to go full demon, taking on a far more traditional appearance. Her powers go haywire and she shreds everything around her. Meanwhile, Professor Obsidian uses a magical chain to try and gain control over her. Pay attention to that chain, because variations of this particular spell will feature later on in the series. However, Obsidian has no real control. Vermeil's demonic power is exponential destruction. And yes, this is drawing from explanative spoilers later in the manga, but Vermeil draws in and processes mana to unleash it in grand explosions. If she draws enough power before releasing it, she can punch holes into entire continents. This kind of magic is far beyond Obsidian's ability to control, and Vermeil goes for the kill. Just then, Alto performs his duty as a shonen protagonist and dives between her and the soon-to-be arrested by the FBI professor. As a result, he takes her gigantic claws right to the chest, rupturing his heart. As Alto dies, he hugs Vermeil and expresses his confidence in her. The bond they have cultivated all this time awakens reason within her, and Vermeil returns to her normal state. She gives Alto a kiss, invoking a complicated spell to repair his heart, but it comes at a price. It links their lives to each other, so if one dies, the other will kick the bucket too. For the first time in the series, Vermeil does something that can be considered truly selfless. Professor Obsidian is enraged that all his work has resulted in Vermeil escaping his meager control. Furthermore, her powers far outmatch his own, enraging him. Turns out, he was a rather small fellow the entire time, in all the places where it counts. He once more uses his concoction of demonic powers to transform himself into a massive beast. But again, he is entirely impotent before Vermeil. Are we not sure that this entire story isn't an allegory for bad boys relying on steroids versus good boys? Yeah, whatever. Getting absolutely wrecked by Vermeil, Obsidian attempts to flee, but is shot right out of the sky by a vengeful Chris. As he plummets, he falls right into Vermeil's waiting fist, where she utterly annihilates his form and stolen powers. And with that, the battle ends. Though it does bear mentioning that while all of this is going on, the student body president has to fight a golem made up of magic paper dolls, which have been acting as a means of communication for Professor Obsidian, being spies around the school, and security for the disgraced professor. So now, Alto is recovering from getting his heart destroyed and healed, which takes us to why this fight matters. Now, some spoilers ahead. This fight is not about falling in love, but about opening up your heart to someone who you can fall in love with. Throughout the entire story, Vermeil has been largely using Alto. Furthermore, Alto has closed himself off to the idea of anyone falling in love with him. Because Vermeil must save him in such a dramatic and consequential fashion, they must now reconcile, sharing their lives and their hearts. Upon realizing just how far she is willing to go for him, Alto finally opens up his heart and is willing to pursue a relationship with her. For Vermeil, it's not so simple. She faces the fact that she has largely used Alto, and again faces the fact that she is the greatest disaster, which again is something that we learn about far more later on, tying directly into the truth about how she ended up in the summoning book. She fears going berserk and hurting someone she realizes she is coming to love. So she seals up her heart and resolves to find a spell that will restore Alto to normal before she locks away herself for all eternity. But this is where Lilia comes in clutch, helping Vermeil to realize that while things suck for now, what matters most is her relationship with Alto. If they can figure things out between themselves, they can tackle whatever comes next. Oh, sweet summer child. If only love were that simple. But this inspires Vermeil to meet up with Alto, and they finally express their feelings for real, reaching a relationship status that most shonen protagonists must work for scores of episodes, if not hundreds, just to reach. Now, while the degenerates out there will be upset that this all does not immediately result in some big boink between Vermeil and Alto, this battle is a significant step in their relationship. From this point on, we see way more openness between the two of them, and things definitely spice up and progress rather nicely. For the plot, with Obsidian unmasked and defeated, the creator of the paper dolls must now take matters into their own hands and invade the Academy of Ortigia. From this point on, the plot really gets underway. Now, there is nothing pretty about how this fight is executed. Not really. It is an absolute slugfest with over-the-top powers. But that is not the issue with the show's budget at all. Really, it isn't. Just the manga's choreography. Again, I am very, very impressed with how much the animators have eked out of every scene despite their limited funding. That is something I feel the anime adaptation really deserves praise for. But coming back to the fight, normally this is not how you want to write your action sequences. It's totally fine to write a messy scene where things are chaotic, but they can easily go overboard and become confusing to your audience. This scene is largely redeemed not by Vermeil's bustiness, but by how the scene is sandwiched between great character and plot progression. It also contains an absolutely fantastic moment where Alto and Vermeil's feelings resonate with each other. It is great when you get to see thematic progress in the middle of an action sequence. Furthermore, the battle is the incident that concludes the introduction to Ortygia Academy and throws us into the real plot regarding demons and high sorcerers. As novice writers, this is what we should always bear in mind for good fight sequences. It's about the build-up and the payoff. This battle is well established from both Professor Obsidian and Vermeil's perspectives. It then becomes the fight that kicks off so much yet to come in the story and is monumental for Vermeil and Alto and their relationship. Now, a fight always can get better when it has good choreography and understandable elements, and that is something sorted out and explored further each time you write and edit a fight scene. If you'd like us to go into a deeper dive about how you can write the mechanics of a good fight, please let us know in the comment section below and we will get that rolling. And if you've been following along with Vermeil and Gold, I'd like to hear what your thoughts are on the story so far. In the meantime, feel free to check out more of our videos here, especially swing by our podcast, Camille's Harem, found on Podbean, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, the works. We have writing exercises for you to check out over at our Pinterest page, and we would love for you to join our community of authors. Links for all of that and more are in the description below. Thank you for joining us on this adventure that we call writing, and until the next video, y'all, tschüss.
そういうことですから